There's something happening right now in the invisible spaces between you and someone who once knew every corner of your heart. And you need to understand what this means, because the universe doesn't make mistakes when it decides to pull two souls back into each other's orbit. Your younger love, that person who carries memories of you like sacred relics in the depth of their being, has just experienced something that's about to change everything between you. And I need you to really hear this, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just information. It's a message that's been trying to reach you through every synchronicity, every repeated number, every song that randomly plays and stops you in your tracks. They've discovered something. And this discovery is like a key turning in a lock that's been rusted shut for longer than either of you wanted to admit. For weeks, maybe months. They've been feeling something strange, an energy they couldn't name, a presence they couldn't see, but could absolutely feel in those quiet moments when they're scrolling through their phone in the darkness of their bedroom, illuminated only by that blue light that seems to know all our secrets. They felt watched, not in a frightening way, but in a way that made their stomach flip and their breath catch, because somewhere deep in their soul, they recognized the signature of that gaze. You've been there, haven't you? In the silence of your own nights, clicking through their stories, their posts, their life unfolding in carefully curated squares and circles, telling yourself it means nothing, that you're just curious, just checking in, just making sure they're okay, even though you have no right to that information anymore. But the thing about energy is that it travels, it transcends screens and distances, it moves through the ethers like a whisper that only certain hearts can hear, and their heart has been hearing yours calling out through every view, every silent visit to their profile. They've started noticing patterns, the way their viewer count changes at specific times, the way certain stories get viewed almost immediately no matter when they post them, the subtle digital footprints that you thought were invisible but are actually glowing like breadcrumbs in the dark. And something shifted in them recently, a knowing descended like a feather from heaven landing softly on their consciousness. And they began to suspect. They began to wonder. They began to replay conversations and breakdowns, endings and almosts, and suddenly your face appeared in their mind with such clarity that it felt like you were standing right there in a room with them. The angels have been orchestrating this. You understand that, right? This isn't coincidence. This is cosmic intervention. Because when two people are meant to find their way back to each other, the universe doesn't just sit quietly and hope it works out. It actively participates in a reunion. It creates circumstances and revelations and moments of clarity that force both parties to finally face what's been hiding in plain sight. Your younger love has been carrying questions they never got to ask you, feelings they never got to express. And now those unspoken words are burning inside them with renewed intensity, because they finally know that you haven't forgotten, that you haven't moved on as completely as you pretended to, that some part of you is still tethered to some part of them. And then it happened, that precise moment when suspicion crystallized into certainty, when the vague feeling became concrete knowledge. And I need you to understand how powerful this moment was for them, because it wasn't just about discovering that you've been watching. It was about understanding that what existed between you never actually died. It just went underground, hibernating in the secret chambers of both your hearts, waiting for the right season to emerge again. Maybe they finally opened their viewer insights and saw a profile they recognized, or maybe they tested their theory by posting something they knew would catch your attention and watching to see how quickly you'd appear. Or maybe a mutual friend let something slip without realizing the magnitude of what they were revealing. But however it happened, the moment they knew for certain that you were the silent presence they'd been sensing, everything in their world tilted on its axis. Their hands probably shook. Did you know that? Their breath probably caught in their throat. Their heart probably started hammering against their ribcage like it was trying to escape, because this knowledge changed the entire narrative they've been telling themselves about how things ended and why you both went your separate ways. They thought you'd moved on. They convinced themselves that you were happier without them. They built an entire story around the idea that they meant less to you than you meant to them. And in one devastating, beautiful, terrifying instant, that story shattered into 1,000 pieces. The recognition hit them like a wave, and suddenly they were drowning in questions that demanded answers. How long have you been watching? What does it mean that you've been watching? Do you think about them when you look at their pictures? Or is it just idle curiosity, just a bad habit you can't seem to break? And the hardest question of all, the one that's probably keeping them awake right now as they stare at their ceiling trying to make sense of everything. Do you still love them, or are you just haunted by who they used to be? Because there's a difference, between loving someone and being unable to let go of the ghost of what you once shared. And are terrified that maybe you're just clinging to a memory rather than longing for the person they've become. But here's what they don't fully understand yet, what the universe is still preparing them to receive. Your watching wasn't random, wasn't pathetic, wasn't meaningless. It was your soul's way of maintaining connection when your pride wouldn't let you reach out directly. It was love in the only form you could allow yourself to express it, filtered to the safe distance of screens and silent observations. They're replaying every interaction now, every like you've given, every story you viewed, looking for patterns, searching for meaning, trying to decode the message you've been sending without words. And something is shifting inside them. A wall is beginning to crack. A door that they bolted shut is starting to inch open. Because if you still care enough to watch, to stay connected even in this invisible way, then maybe, just maybe, there's still something worth fighting for. Still something worth risking their heart for one more time. What's happening inside them right now is nothing short of an emotional earthquake, and you need to feel into this energy because it's affecting you too, whether you realize it or not. Because when one person in a soul connection experiences a major shift, the other person feels the tremors, even if they don't understand what's causing them. Your younger love is being flooded with feelings they thought they'd successfully buried, emotions they convinced themselves were resolved, healed, moved past. But the truth is that when you love someone deeply, really deeply, that love doesn't just evaporate because circumstances changed or because you both decided to walk away. It transforms, it goes dormant. It waits patiently in the shadows for any excuse to resurface. And this discovery has given it permission to come roaring back with vengeance. They're cycling through everything now. Confusion giving way to anger. Anger melting into sadness. Sadness transforming into hope. Hope wrestling with fear. And it's exhausting them. This emotional roller coaster they didn't ask to ride, but can't seem to get off. Part of them want to confront you immediately, to send you a message that cuts straight through all the pretense and demands honesty. Why have you been watching me? What do you want from me? Why couldn't you just let me move on in peace? But another part of them, the part that still believes in magic, in second chances, in the kind of love that transcends logic and survives even the worst endings, that part is whispering something entirely different. Maybe this is fate. Maybe this is the universe giving us another opportunity. Maybe we're being called back together for a reason that will only make sense later. And then there are the memories, oh God, the memories that are crashing over them like waves now that the dam is broken. Memories of laughter that felt like medicine, of conversations that lasted until sunrise, of touches that sent electricity through their entire body, of the way you looked at them like they were the only person in the universe who mattered. And mixed in with those beautiful memories are the painful ones, the arguments, the misunderstandings, the moment everything fell apart, the last conversation, the final goodbye that felt like death. They're wondering if enough has changed, if enough time has passed, if you're both different people now, or if history would just repeat itself in an endless cycle of coming together and falling apart. Their friends probably don't understand why they're suddenly so distracted, so emotional, so lost in thoughts they can't quite articulate. Because how do you explain to someone that discovering your ex has been silently watching your life unfold feels like being given a second chance you didn't know you wanted until it appeared? This isn't just about social media stalking. This is about unfinished business, about souls that separated before their story was complete, about love that was interrupted rather than concluded. And your younger love is standing at a crossroads right now, trying to decide which path to take. Do they pretend they don't know and continue living their life as if nothing has changed? Do they block you and force themselves to finally, truly move on? Or do they do the scariest thing of all and reach out, breaking the silence that existed between you, risking rejection and heartbreak for the possibility of something real, something lasting, something worth all the pain it took to get here? The war that's raging inside your younger love right now is one of the most ancient battles known to human hearts. The war between a mind that remembers every reason things ended and the heart that only remembers every reason they began. And this battle is fierce. It's consuming them. It's making them question everything they thought they knew about love and timing, and whether some connections are truly meant to last forever, or if we just romanticize what we've lost. Their logical mind is presenting a very compelling case, listing out all the incompatibilities, all the ways you hurt each other, all the reasons a relationship ended in the first place, reminding them that people don't actually change that much. that patterns repeat, that going backward is usually a mistake when you should be moving forward. This voice of reason is loud and insistent, telling them to protect themselves, to remember the pain, to consider that maybe you're just bored or lonely or nostalgic, that your watching doesn't necessarily mean anything profound, that they'd be a fool to read too much into digital behavior when you haven't had the courage to actually reach out with words. But their heart is singing a completely different song, and it's just as loud, just as insistent, just as convincing in its own way. Their heart remembers a connection that existed between you, the kind of chemistry that doesn't come along often in a lifetime, the way you understood them in ways no one else ever has, the feeling of coming home that happened whenever they were with you regardless of where you actually were. Their heart is saying that love like what you shared doesn't just appear again with someone new, that what you had was rare and real and worth fighting for, that the universe is clearly trying to bring you back together. And who are they to argue with cosmic timing? And caught between these two powerful forces is their authentic self, their soul, trying to hear its own truth beneath all the noise, try to feel into what's actually right rather than what's logical or what's romantic. They're analyzing your behavior obsessively now, trying to figure out your intentions from the evidence available. You've been consistent in your watching, which suggests this isn't just a random impulse, but something sustained, something intentional, maybe even something you can't help. You haven't reached out directly, which could mean you're respecting their space, or it could mean you're too afraid, or it could mean you don't actually want reconciliation, just connection from a distance. The timing of your views sometimes seems random, sometimes seems deliberately timed to specific posts, and they're trying to decode what that means about your emotional state, about whether you're healing or hurting or somewhere in between. Pride is another player in this internal battle, telling them that if you really wanted them back, you'd say something, you'd be brave, you'd not leave them to discover your presence accidentally, but would announce it intentionally. Pride says they shouldn't have to be the one to reach out when you're clearly the one who's been maintaining this invisible connection. But vulnerability whispers something different, suggests that maybe you're just as scared as they are, just as uncertain, just as terrified of rejection and the potential for more pain. But here's what your younger love doesn't fully comprehend yet. What they're only beginning to sense in those quiet moments when their intuition speaks louder than their fear. None of this is accidental. None of this is random. And the universe has been orchestrating this entire scenario with the precision of a master composer arranging a symphony. Because when two souls are meant to complete a journey together, every obstacle, every separation, every moment of silence is just preparation for the reunion that was always going to happen. The angels have been working overtime on this situation, dropping signs and synchronicities into both your lives, trying to wake you both up to the truth that's been obvious to the spiritual realm even when it was hidden from your human eyes. You belong together, you always have, and every path you walk separately has just been teaching you lessons you needed to learn before you could come back together in a way that actually works this time. Your younger love is starting to feel this on some level, even if they can't articulate it yet. This sense that something bigger than both of you is moving pieces around the board, creating opportunities, removing obstacles, preparing both your hearts for what comes next. They're noticing the signs now that they're paying attention, the way your name keeps appearing in unexpected places, the way songs about second chances keep playing, the way they keep seeing repeated numbers that all seem to point toward new beginnings and destined connections. And something is shifting in their energy. You can probably feel it if you're paying attention, if you're tuned into that invisible thread that still connects you even across distance and silence. They're softening, they're opening. They're allowing themselves to hope in a way they haven't permitted themselves to hope since everything fell apart. And this hope is dangerous and beautiful and terrifying all at once because hope requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires courage. And courage requires believing that maybe, just maybe, taking this risk won't end in devastation, but in something that finally feels like home. The universe is preparing something specific, something powerful, something that's going to force both of you to finally stop hiding and start being honest about what you really want. But I can't tell you exactly what that is yet, because some mysteries need to unfold in their own time. Some revelations need to arrive when you're truly ready to receive them. What I can tell you is this. Your younger love discovering your presence wasn't the ending. It was a beginning. The first domino falling in a chain reaction that's already been set in motion and can't be stopped now even if either of you want to stop it. Something is coming. Something inevitable. Something that's been written in the stars since before you ever met. And the question isn't whether it's going to happen. The question is whether you'll both be brave enough to surrender to it when it arrives. But that's a story for another time, because right now, in this very moment, your younger love is making a decision, and what they decide next is going to change everything.